For people answering the call to the mission field, student debt can feel like a huge wall blocking them from reaching that goal. The average student who graduated with a bachelor's degree in 1999 left with just over $16,000 in debt, compared to almost $30,000 in 2019. That's a lot of debt for a new graduate to carry with them, especially if they're looking into missions, a career that isn't known for big paychecks. I spoke with 3 people from Team to help me understand how to be a missionary with student debt. Vana Lau is the interim CFO at Team.
So that means I get to deal with all things financial.
And she has seen a shift in the way mission agencies approach student debt.
I think it's changed within sending agencies, but I think it's changed within our culture as a whole. Student debt used to really be somewhat taboo just in general. And now it's almost more an expected part of the higher education process.
While student debt is considered normal, missionaries need to be aware that it doesn't come without consequences.
Any debt that a prospective or a missionary on the field may have impacts the amount of fundraising they need to do, impacts their finances personally. And so we certainly would encourage people to be cautious and to be really thoughtful about it. But at the same time, if a reasonable amount of student debt allows someone to be better equipped to go do what they're doing, then there may be a case for it.
Jennifer Nichols is Team Stewardship Coach, so she guides missionaries in building support teams. Jennifer says that having student debt could increase the amount of support you'll need to raise.
You have to raise a living allowance. So you need costs to eat, to have a place to rent, a place to stay. If you have to have a vehicle, all of those things are part of your cost of living. And for many, student loan is just going to be part of your cost of living, that you're going to have to raise a little bit of additional money in your monthly budget to help you pay off that student loan.
Let me break that down a bit more. Let's say Team's finance department worked with you to decide you could live in your ministry area on $4,700 per month. $1,000 of that will go toward ministry expenses, like fuel to visit remote pastors, food for church parties, or materials for VBS. $2,700 goes toward a living allowance to cover rent, food, transportation, and personal spending. The final $1,000 covers benefits, like health insurance, retirement, and team fees. Now, let's add student debt into the equation. If you owe $300 per month on your student loans, you have 2 choices. You can pay that $300 from your $2,700 living allowance and just cut back on the other line items. Or you can increase your living allowance to $3,000 and find 6 more donors at $50 a month to cover the increase. So either way, having student debt will affect your budget, but that's not a deal breaker.
That missionary just needs to be wise with their money and knowing that this is my living allowance that comes in each month. I need to create a financial plan for myself that allows me to get these loans paid off.
Vana and Jennifer offered a bunch of great options for helping knock out those student loans. Organizations like the Go Fund help pay approved missionaries student loans. And MedSend specifically assists those in healthcare fields. For insight on loan types and repayment plans, check out studentaid.gov. You may even be able to defer your loans or apply for income-based repayment plans. If you plan to attend a Christian college, talk to them about your goal for missions and see what financial aid they can offer. Be on the lookout for scholarships, grants, or internships, and put the effort in to apply.
There are a lot of programs available to people who have loans. And this is one of those things that it takes work on your part to do the legwork and to fill out the applications and to find the information.
I wish that I had a magic formula for it. But the one thing that I would say is it takes work. It's out there. You're just not going to find it easy, and it's not going to land on your doorstep.
While all this may sound overwhelming, take heart. Missionaries with student debt can thrive on the field.
I'm Christina Mayer, and I'm serving in the Czech Republic.
Christina entered the mission field with student debt and even paid it off during her first term overseas. But let's rewind. Right after high school, Christina started working, and it was during this time she heard the call to missions. So, 7 years after graduating from high school, she enrolled in Bible college.
And I really felt that that was really important for me to have a good biblical basis.
And she was mindful with her money. She applied for scholarships, worked multiple jobs, and spent wisely while in school. Then she joined Team, moved to the Czech Republic, and started paying it off.
I did work very hard to not pay the minimum amount. I pre-planned each month how much to put on it so that it made a dent and I wasn't struggling.
Oh, one more thing.
I just enrolled in seminary. So I'm taking those 1 to 2 courses a term. And that way I can pay for them like myself instead of getting a loan.
Yeah, on a missionary living allowance, Christina paid off her student loans and is self-funding seminary.
Don't let student loans hold you back. If that's what God wants you to do, you need to listen and obey and just follow in his footsteps because he knows the plans that he has for you.
Now, what if you're interested in pursuing missions, but you haven't taken out student debt yet? Is it a bad idea to take out student loans? Not necessarily, but you should view this season as a critical time of planning. Make college choices with the end goal in mind.
Yes, a college education can be very important, but there are different ways of getting that college education too. And I think that's one of the things that people need to consider. Even if you feel like you need to get an MDiv, which is amazing and can be extremely helpful. So does that mean maybe you go to a community college and then knock out your 4-year degree quickly so that you can do that easier? Or a number of schools now have a 5-year program where you go all the way through and in 5 years you come out with your bachelor's and your MDiv? Or are there other avenues that you can pursue that would allow you to get to the same end result, but in maybe a more economical fashion?
If you've already taken on an unusually large amount of debt, you might need to wait to go to the mission field until you've paid down some loans and gained real-world professional experience.
You might need to consider delaying that dream of going into full-time ministry overseas for a couple years and get a job outside of ministry and to aggressively pay off debt. And there's some great resources that you can learn and gain from that. I think a lot of places too overseas, they want you to have some sort of experience.
Other solutions might be entering a public service or humanitarian loan forgiveness program. You can look at consolidating your debt for different repayment terms. You'll also want a good personal budget. Resources like Crown Financial's online library of personal finance courses or Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University can help you see what changes you need to make to accomplish your goals. Ultimately, you'll want a strong financial plan, but also a willingness to walk through the doors God opens along the way.
I wouldn't let student debt scare someone away from going to the mission field. At the same time, I wouldn't be on the other side and say, any amount of student debt's fine. I think he expects us to be responsible. And so it's a balance, but I wouldn't just make a hard and fast decision on either end without getting some good counsel and really praying about it.
Your debt doesn't define you. If God has called you to the mission field, know that there's ways to get that paid off and get that down. It may not work in the time frame that you had hoped. You worked hard for that degree or degrees that you have, and you want to use that to serve people in remote places or all over the world, and that's a great and wonderful thing.